give me your perspective on DEI, and because based on what I heard earlier, I feel like you don't think I belong here.
Oh,
because
really?
Of
Why?
how I am a black man, and because of DEI, I'm not qualified enough to be here. Yes, I am.
Okay, great, then you belong.
But why do I have to prove that to you?
You don't. You brought it up, I didn't.
Okay, but can you explain to me your position on DEI?
Yes, people should not be in positions just because of the color of their skin. Hard stop.
Okay, but do you feel like I'm here because
I'm not feeling anything towards you, actually.
Okay,
I'm not prejudicing you, I'm not stereotyping you. I'm saying it's a material.
I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you are.
No, you are. You said, I don't feel comfortable being here. You started with.
I didn't say I wasn't comfortable being here. I said I feel like you made it to where I got here through DEI.
So let's examine that. What have I said that makes you feel that way?
When you mentioned how DEI is only just putting people of color and marginalized groups in spaces, even if they're not so
correct.
Qualified.
That's exactly what DEI does.
But that's not all that it does. You're categorizing it as something it isn't.
No, that's exactly that is the charter mission.
That's not all.
Okay,
that it
so
does.
diversity, equity. So equity is outcome based. Is about making people who are of different skin colors have the same outcome, regardless whether or not they are qualified. The best example we have of this is the Students for Fair Admission Harvard Supreme Court case, where black students, they could have a SAT score 300 points lesser than the Asian equivalent and still get into Harvard. That is DEI in practice. I believe when you're hiring for an organization or for a company or for whatever you are doing, you should prioritize merit and character, and race should mean nothing. We should build around things that matter and not things that don't matter.
Okay, but you have to also take into the fact that black people have only been able to completely legally be able to make profit for themselves for around 60 years. And this is, no, since segregation ended in 1965 and the Equal Rights Act in 1965, so what you're talking, there's not.
How does that, so let's talk about you. How did that impact you? How did something that happened 60 years ago impact your life?
It impacts me all the time.
How?
What do you, okay.
You're at Texas A&M, you're doing great.
Okay, yes, sure, yeah.
So aren't you a living example that all that's a bunch of nonsense and you could just act good and behave well and succeed?
But there's also living examples of the exact opposite. If you look in the impoverished neighborhoods in certain parts of Chicago or St. Louis, there's black communities being thrown aside because they're not getting education.
Thrown aside? Okay,
yes,
so
aside.
I think we can get somewhere. Why have the black community gotten poorer since the passage of the Civil Rights Act? Tell me that.
Because of the way the culture has been perpetuated through the years.
Hold on, think about it. So they were richer when we were segregated and more racist. America's become less racist.
What about Tulsa?
Yeah, no one's going to defend what happened in Tulsa again. But let's talk. We're talking about a lot of different cities. We're talking about Chicago, Tulsa. But let's again. This is a very important point. Do you think the fact that 70% of black youth don't have a dad around is probably pretty important?
That's because of the culture.
So respectfully allow me to interject. How does the white culture impact the fact whether or not a black dad stays around when he impregnates a woman?
I'm not saying it's the white culture.
What is it?
The culture that has been perpetuated through the 200 years of slavery, the 100 years of segregation, and Jim Crow laws.
The marriage, so I got to interject again. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt too much. But in 1960, before the Civil Rights Act, 20% of black youth had a dad around. Now it's, 20% were single fathers, 80% had a dad around. It's been inverted. So we actually have seen black dads run away from their kids the last 60 years. Why is that?
Because of the raised incarceration rates, because of the perpetuated culture.
So how does one go to jail?
That's obvious. I'm not answering that question.
Yeah, so maybe it's because they committed crimes?
Okay, but when you're forced it's not just this is old, this is in the past, this doesn't affect you anymore.
Okay, so actually let's take a different group. How did the Holocaust impact Jews? They're doing pretty well.
Well, because they got reparations, we didn't.
How? What reparations did the Jews get?
Through acknowledgement, through money, through
we acknowledge slavery happened.
Okay, but you're sitting here and acting like it plays no role.
No, but to your argument, the Holocaust was 80 years ago. Half of all the Jews on the planet were killed. Everything they earned was taken. Jews are doing great. If all of a sudden something that happened 80 years ago impacts your material prosperity, how did Jews defy the curve? How did poor Asians do so well? Why is it that Asians are now the wealthiest minority in America, many of whom came with no money in the 1950s or 60s?
Because of the culture and opportunities that were provided to them.
But no, but you're not hearing me out. Black Americans have had the same opportunities. However,
but people still look at us like criminals every day.
Hold on, but like, I don't look at you like a criminal.
I'm not saying you do, I'm saying some people do.
But I mean, do you want me to be brutally honest with you, or do you want me to be politically correct?
Yes, be brutally honest with me.
Okay, do black people commit more crimes than white people? It's not even close.
Okay, but you have to take into account the culture that has been perpetuated.
Okay, got it. So we can agree on this. Do you mean internal black culture?
It's deeper than that. Like,
do you think, let's take time out. Do you think the average rap artist that a black kid in the hood is listening to is glorifying marriage and family and saving your money?
That's what sells because it's a culture thing. It's not just within the black community.
I agree. No, but hold on.
Everyone listens to it. It's not just isolated.
It's bad for everyone who listens to it. The point being is that black youth, as they are being raised, their role models are largely not glorifying staying with one woman, getting married, going to church. And if you're wrong, show me the black role models that are doing that. There might be a couple I could think of, maybe. But if it's about culture, you're right. The internal black culture has collapsed the last 60 years. We're no longer elevating the family. We're no longer elevating staying with the person that you're with. So our contention here as conservatives is that the systemic racism stuff is a bunch of rubbish. Instead, it's systemic bad choices.
Do you feel that systemic racism isn't real?
Of course not. What can I do that you can't do? Name it.
Okay.
No, seriously. What can I do that you can't do?
Fallacy. That's a slippery slope.
No, it's not.
I don't know why.
Very simple. No, because back in 1940, you would have been able to answer that question. Well, Charlie, there's a bathroom over there that I can't go to. There's a major league team.
I can't walk into the grocery store and get the same looks that you do. I walked into Brookshire Brothers a couple of weeks ago and I was looked at like I was
That's an insanely hyper-paranoid way of living life. That's not evidence, right?
It's a real example.
By the way, if I walk into a black neighborhood, I get bad looks too, okay? So I don't know what the contention is.
Because of the way you treat our culture and the way you perpetuate.
Oh, wait, hold on. The way we treat your culture, we have gone to such great calisthenics and ridiculous gymnastics to prove that we're not racist. In fact, it's the worst thing that you could be called in America. We had, during George Floyd 2020, we had hundreds of millions of dollars given to Black Lives Matter. I don't know where that money went. Did it improve material worth of black America? So, I mean, and we actually do know where it went, actually. And so, but going back to your main contention, when you practice DEI, because that was your main point, right? You are rewarding bad culture. You even acknowledge it. You are saying that someone should be there based on the color of their skin. We say skin color doesn't matter. If you want that position, work harder, study harder, and then you might be able to get that position.
When we're forced into underfunded communities where schools are based off of property value, we can't.
Well, actually, school choice is now the law of the land here in Texas, so that's not correct. Secondly,
do you just expect a single-parent home to pick up and move into some rich neighborhood?
Well, again, so let's go back to why are they the single-parent home?
Because the hundreds of years.
Do you believe in the maxim or the belief that you should take responsibility for your decisions?
It's not just one person's decisions. It's so much deeper than that.
See,
why are you trying to?
That's where you and I have a different belief. You believe in this.
It's not. It's a fact.
No, it's a belief. Again, you have to tell me then, why do Jews do so well? Holocaust didn't impact their material worth. How did Asians do so well? And by the way, even more so, why are Hispanics getting so much wealthier? If we were so racist, why are Hispanics all of a sudden gaining income the last 20 years? There's something.
It's a difference in culture. I don't know why y'all are clapping. But it's a difference in culture. The way that each culture is treated is so vastly different in America.
But again, you have to tell me, other than bad looks at the grocery store, how else is your future, you as a man in America, not a black man, how is your future somehow restricted by racism?
My natural hair is seen as unprofessional when I go into an office or workplace. When I walk around in certain places, people just assume, like I've said earlier, the dirty looks. When people think you are automatically the worst of the worst solely because
we don't think that.
You've interrupted me like 10 times
because
now.
you think you know what white people think, and you don't.
I don't know what white people think.
Then why do you keep on saying you know what white people think?
Because I've seen it. I'm not
you've
saying
seen
I
our
think-
thoughts?
I've seen what people have done to me and people who look like me around the world and in America.
How? Again, you are, let's just make an example. You are here in the wealthiest country ever,
Yes.
at an amazing university, with all the opportunity imaginable in front of you. And all you want to do is look backwards at everything that prevented you, when you are a glaring example that there is no systemic racism and you can actually achieve your wildest dreams.
Whoa, I never said that. Hey, I'm not the only black person who exists out there. There's so many people who this culture is affecting to this day.
Do you know black Americans are the richest black people on earth? You cannot find a black majority country, or any country where black people have significant representation, where they are as wealthy. Because even the poorest people in America are in the top 5%, the top 2% of wealth around the world. And so my whole belief is stop acting like you're a victim and start making better choices.
Not acting like a victim, whoa.
Respect.
This is not a victim mentality.
No, it fundamentally is, because white people are not out to get you. There's
I'm not
nothing.
saying they
There
are.
is nothing holding black people back. Let me say that again. There is nothing holding black people back. In fact, the opposite. You can get into colleges with lower test scores.
But
You could say things that white people can't say and not be fired for it. Black people are wildly disrepresentation.
people
Hold
say
on.
that to me all the time, and they just walk around like it doesn't mean anything around here.
Say what?
So,
Say the what?
the N-word. I'm not going to say it on this public platform, but people say it to me all the time.
Derogatorily.
Yes.
No, I think you're lying.
Why would I be
So
lying about
you're
this?
trying to tell me at this campus, did you report it to student services?
I'm not. I have too much on my plate to worry about this.
So you're going to say at this campus, you're going to indict the moral character of Texas A&M.
I'm not indicting the moral character.
Oh, yes,
of Texas
you are.
A&M.
You're saying that.
I'm
Hold on.
indicting the moral character of one person or a few people.
Oh, well, now it's one. So you heard it all the time, and now it's one. Got it. So
It's not okay. You're
no, but
taking me
this
out
is
of
the
context,
point, is that
but
I
okay.
don't believe you, because now you resort back to a race hoax to make it seem as if the
It's
white
not
kids
a-
on this campus are like
not
racist
saying
and terrible.
white kids.
Oh, so was it a black guy that said it to you?
I'm not.
It matters a lot, because this is how lies are able to grow. Jussie Smollett, we see this. You
So
have
do
to
you think
challenge
I'm
them head
lying?
on.
Do you think I'm lying when I say that people say the N-word around here and just
If I
act
think a
casual
white
about it?
person comes up to you derogatorily and says, "Shut up, N-word," I
I'm
absolutely.
not saying they said
But
it
I
like-
asked. I said, "Are they saying it derogatorily?"
But that doesn't mean it's word for word like that.
But okay, so then it's not an insult then. So then don't bring it up as if it's evidence of racism.
Because you brought the N-word up first. I didn't.
No, I didn't.
You no. You specifically said, name me an instance of the
No,
N-word.
I said
or other
I said
things.
black people can say things that white people can't say. Of course that's true.
But that's automatically implying that one
it's
word.
It's more than that. But let me just kind of build
Okay,
this
then
out
what
further.
is it then?
There's a lot of things black people can say.
Explain it to me.
You want me to give you more examples of things?
Yes.
Black people are allowed to talk about black culture in a way that white culture cannot. For example, black people can go up and say that there's a baby mama problem in black America, and white people are not allowed to say that. Oh, I just did. So what are you gonna do? Cancel me? Black people are allowed to say. Black people are allowed to say.
I'm a grown man. I got way too much
Black
to
people
worry
are allowed
about.
to say that there is a systemic fraud issue within the PP loan application in black America. Black people are much easier to be able to say that black individuals, despite being 13% of the American population, commit 55% of the murders. If most white people say that at a job, they would get fired for being a racist. I don't care because I say whatever I want. So black individuals have much more intellectual public freedom than white people do. If a white person were to come up and say, you know, black America really needs to get its act together and stop sleeping around all the time, and it needs to actually have monopoly.
Why would you just
Because
walk
it's
up and,
true. Because
why
it's
would you
true.
just walk up to someone and talk and attack their culture from the outside?
Well, hold
you
on,
can't
because
talk about someone.
hold on. Let's look at the evidence. You said to myself, you said there's all these people suffering in Chicago. There's all these people that are terrible. I'm telling you why. It's because there's been bad decisions that have been institutionalized. Let me finish. And rap artists and athletes and people at the top level of black society that refuse to ever challenge the core rot in black America, which is that they are allowing degeneracy and hedonism to eat the soul of what once was a beautiful black culture, and instead they go around saying it's the boogeyman of racism, the white man is out to get you, and the result is black America is doing worse than it was in the 1960s. That is the contention, period.
It's not just, it's a culture. It's so much deeper than the present day we are in. I don't know why you're pretending like it just doesn't matter.
What doesn't matter? You mean things that happen? Again, I've been through this multiple times. Let me just ask you
but
one.
you're not listening to understand.
No,
you're listening to reply.
No, I'm doing both actually, and so. Okay. But let me just like ask one final question, right? Mm-hmm. Which is that like you have your entire future ahead of you. Mm-hmm. When you are hired for a job, would you rather be hired because of your race or because of how qualified you are?
It doesn't boil down to just that.
That's what DEI is, man.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
it is
not.
Definitionally the hiring of people.
They're not just going to immediately see. You
get extra points if you're black with DEI. That's how it works. Racial quotas elevate people based on the color of their skin.
So do you think I got extra points to come here?
I don't know. You said you were qualified, but affirmative action was institutionalized in Harvard and in Texas and a lot of other places. There is nothing that is preventing black people from prospering. Nothing. The only thing is that you guys have been hypnotized to be victims of your own mind, to think as if there's a white person out to get you. I walk in the grocery store, they look at me differently. All that stuff is complete rubbish. The thing that is preventing you.
Life experiences. You're just denying my experience I just shared to you in front of all these people.
If you think that, okay, let me just be very clear.
I know.
America has come really far if your best example of racism is getting bad looks in a grocery store. We have made incredible racial moral progress. That's only my
experience. There are so many other people
out there. But I'm happy to hear every example that they have. It boils down to this. We are not just a racist country, we are the least racist country ever to exist. We go out of our way not to be called the R word, to demonstrate that we aren't racist, to show to people that I have compassion for others and that I want to try to help people of different skin color. But at its fundamental core, I have to go back to this. I don't actually think skin color matters that much. I don't. I want a country that aims towards MLK's dream of one based on content of character and one on competency. I think the hyper-race obsession of this country is really bad. It's really bad for everybody involved, including black America. And I would just ask you, what would you do to improve the material well-being of black America? What is your solution?
Education.
Okay, we've spent trillions of dollars on education.
It's not
trillions.
You need to fundamentally change the system of education because there's not enough funding. Teachers are not paid enough anywhere. Let's be honest. We need to seriously fix our education, especially when public school education comes from property taxes. When you're in a low-income neighborhood, you're not going to get high-income teachers.
If you had to choose more money for education or more dads for black kids, what would you say?
That goes hand in hand. Education goes into
I agree.
Family planning.
That's why if we get more dads into homes, it starts solving the problem.
No, education is what solves the problem.
Well, hold on, but again, if you're just educating and there's not a dad at home reinforcing it, we've seen this play out. We see this in Chicago. In Baltimore, we have spent hundreds of billions of dollars in Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit. We have entire classes of kids that can't read at grade level. We have incredible examples of this, and it goes back to this. If you want to have a privileged life in America, very simple, start acting a certain way. Our belief system is that you come down to the most foundational family unit, and when that breaks down so severely, don't be shocked if that group, when it acts that way, stays in poverty over a longer period of time. Asians are incredibly loyally married. It's one of the reasons why Asian Americans do so well in this country. Hispanics do very well. White Americans increasingly are not doing as well.
They also came here by choice too. My ancestors did not come here by choice, but
so
we don't have to go
too
far into that.
We don't have to go into that. I want to get to the next question. Again, you should be kissing the ground because you're right. You didn't come here by choice. But
why are you telling me to?
Hold on, I'm telling you right now. You should be kissing the ground with gratitude because you're right. You are not in Africa, and you should be thankful you're not in Africa, that you're in the United States of America. That's my end of contention. Thank you very much.
I think that the anti-immigration rhetoric you have is not new. I think that you try to paint a picture of it being this current phenomenon that we're facing, but there's been rhetoric from your side for a long time, throughout the entirety of history. I mean, if we look at the immigration policies in the US, even though Chinese immigrants built the entire Western Railroad, there was still the Chinese Exclusion Act because they were providing insane value to the United States, but we still had these exclusion acts because of xenophobic attitudes. And so this is not a novel idea that immigrants are bad for the country. So I'm interested in why you think that all of a sudden we need to change the way the United States works.
Well, first of all, immigration has gone in great influxes. We basically turned off all immigration in the 1940s and 50s. We had net zero immigration for almost 15 years. Most people don't even know that. So we had Ellis Island in the early 1900s, and then we turned on the guzzle of immigration. But let's be honest, for 40 years, we have tried this mass immigration project for the last 40 years. Has it worked? Are we a more connected country? Have middle-class wages kept up? Look at the material data. Has immigration enriched the well-being of the United States of America, especially the last 5 or 6 years? I would say, of course not, actually. We're more divided, we're more factious, and we see this in almost every European country as well. When you import a bunch of people that don't speak your language, that are from the third world, all of a sudden you have mass destabilization happening in your country. It's not a matter of being xenophobic. Instead, it's a matter of being patriotic to your own country and your own citizens. It's not about hating the foreigner, it's about loving the citizen. And your obligation is always to citizens first, not foreigners.
So you don't think that the MAGA movement has led to xenophobic attitudes at all?
I don't even know how to answer that. I mean, like...
Why not?
Well, because you have to first define what you mean by xenophobic attitudes.
I mean, just like you said, I mean, we're living in a divided world. You don't think that comes from people being anti-immigration?
No, I think it's the opposite. I think when you allow a bunch of people that aren't native-born Americans too quickly, with no checks, no background, no idea who they are, and flood them into your towns, definitionally, diversity is not a strength when it comes to local community ties.
If you don't use it, I don't know that you're committed to finding its strength.
Hold on, no, explain this to me. This is a good question.
Yeah.
What country has ever grown stronger the more divided it's been?
None, but I'm not saying
Yeah,
that
that's
we
the point.
have to get more divided.
No,
via
but
immigration.
diversity definitionally will divide you. Unity unifies you. You notice they never say unity is our strength, they say diversity is our strength? In fact, just so we are clear, there is nothing racist or xenophobic to say that you want your kids to be around people that speak English. There's nothing racist to say that. It actually means that you want to be able to communicate with your neighbor. There's nothing racist and xenophobic to say, for example, we don't want to import people from a far-off distant land that don't share Western values, that don't treat women the same, that don't have the same respect for freedom of speech. So what we see is the unraveling of the United States of America, because a country is again, just like undoubtedly, it is the people that inhabit it. So you have to be very careful what people you allow into your country.
Sure, but I think that what you're talking about, this like mass shift in American culture, is like not happening. I think you're fear-mongering. And also, I think that the United States forever has been a mix of culture. I don't really know like where you can point to a time in the US history that hasn't included immigrants in its culture.
Again, from the 1920s and 1960s, we had very little immigration in this country, nearly 40 years. In fact, that is what largely led to us becoming a world superpower in the 1950s. We
had the Bracero program back then, where we brought in tons of laborers from Mexico to the United States to work in agricultural, and that's how we fed the United States. So I really
again,
don't think that you can say that.
It was very limited in scope versus what we see today. But again, I will ask a more moral question. Does a politician have first loyalty to its own citizens or to another country's citizens?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought this, because I wanted to circle back to my original question about the United States creating instability in the rest of the world. I do think that every single politician, like let's say I'm the Prime Minister of South Africa, you know,
Which is an incredibly anti-white country. Like, oh my goodness.
Okay, anyway.
Dangerously anti-white.
Okay, anyway.
Do you know about that, by the way? You should.
Apartheid, yes.
Oh, no. It's like they're killing white people in the streets in South Africa. They're stealing farmland. I mean, if you don't know about that, that shows how the media is lying to all of you. It is literally a mini white genocide happening in South Africa right now.
But I don't think that we should...
No, it's fine. You brought up South Africa, not me, but yes.
That was just an example. Anyway, let's stay on topic. So let's say I'm the Prime Minister of a country. I do agree with you that my first job is that country, for sure. That's who I'm leading. But considering the United States has created mass violence, instability, and poverty around the world, you don't think that we have some sort of obligation to the people who then have to flee from that?
No.
Why not?
Wait, hold on. Well, why not? Define your terms. Where have we created mass stability? I'll grant you Iraq. That was a disaster. Where else?
In all of Latin America, in different countries in Africa, places that, like the Philippines that we colonized, Puerto Rico. Yeah,
I mean, of course, I'm always so interested in this, as if it's like, you can never blame those countries for not having their act together. It's somehow America's fault. Like, oh, it's America's fault that Nicaragua can't get its act together. It's America's fault. even though we welcome Puerto Rico to become U.S. citizens, like we've colonized them. So here's the paradox.
You don't think that Puerto Rico was colonized?
No. I'm saying no. So if we don't help Puerto Rico, we're evil. When they become a territory, we colonize them, and we haven't done enough. It's like, which one is it exactly?
So the Puerto Rico was taken from the Spanish as a colony and used as a sugar farm for years, where the workers were paid less than $1 per day to create sugar for the United States. And it's not really about statehood or independence. It's about letting Puerto Rico decide that for themselves. And anyway, this isn't about Puerto Rico.
No, it's
this
fine,
is about
but and more broadly, and I'll get to the couple final questions here. I can sense that your problem is that like America's super successful and these other countries aren't. And foundationally, it's rooted in envy, bitterness, and resentment because we are the world's superpower. It's not because we've held anybody back. It's because we've had incredible people, really good ideas.
You don't think the U.S. has intervened in a negative way in other countries?
At times, yes. At times, we've intervened very favorably. Can you at least acknowledge at times that...
Sure, there has been aid, but there's also been terrible
No,
coups.
not just aid. South Korea exists because of American involvement. Kuwait exists because of American involvement.
But it's not.
So...
But to look at American accountability, you have to look at the whole of that accountability. And to say that certain countries are less developed purely on their own fault is to ignore history.
So that's where we disagree.
Okay.
Countries have to take responsibility for their own future, which again, this is one of the reasons why so many people hate Israel. Every other country around there is like a third world country, and Israel is super successful and super agenic, and they're able to be like one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. You gotta wonder, what is it that they're doing? Oh, it's the Jews because they're stealing all this money. No, actually they like work super hard, and they don't believe in Islam, and and like, wow. And the one place
Have you ever been to those countries?
Yeah, actually, I have been to Israel, and I've been to the Palestinian Authority. I've been to the West Bank. I've actually visited it. Even if I hadn't, that doesn't mean what I'm saying is wrong, just for the record. By the way, I encourage you to try to go to Lebanon or Syria. Not exactly the Four Seasons, right? So,
and you
not
don't
great.
think that U.S. intervention has anything to do with that?
Partially, but again, to blame the evil U.S. intervention for every single problem is, at its core, intellectually sloppy.
I don't think so, because the United States has 2 times the military of the rest of the world, and it has been in our DNA to intervene in a military way in other countries. So to say, I mean, I know you believe in...
So I want to try to square this all together. I got to get to another question, just to make sure I'm clear. So you're mad at America for getting involved in other people's countries, right? So America's bad for that. But then you want everyone to come to America. I thought America's bad.
I'm saying that the United States needs to be held accountable. You can't meddle in
So we're held
other
accountable by
countries.
inviting the entire world here?
If you are going to mess up that country, you have to do something about it.
Oh, do something. Invite them here.
Maybe if you're the reason that they have to leave. No?
All right. Then that at its core, I'm glad you articulated it, is neoconservatism, which is invade the world, invite the world. Which is that you don't support the invasion part of it, but somehow we have to invite the world as some sort of like mass penance.
But that's like you invade and then say, oh,
Well, no, I don't support the invasions. I think you are overly ascribing fault to the United States of America, when in reality it's these own broken countries that cannot get their own act together. A great example is this, and I'll close with this. El Salvador is actually safer than America. It has billions of dollars flowing into El Salvador. Why? Because they elected Bukele, who decided to go after MS-13 and clean up the streets of El Salvador. Which, again, it was because they decided to do good things with massive action. Countries can be wealthy. Singapore is wealthy. You could be a very wealthy country if you embrace Western market ideas, private property with low crime, and it's not always...
I mean, in the case of El Salvador, the United States was the reason that the country broke down into gang warfare, and now if you look at the way they were able to turn around, they had to declare a state of emergency just to be able to turn things around.
It's just like, this is where we're different, and then I'll close, then we have to get going. I look at America as a force for good. You look at everything wrong and you say it must be America.
No, sir, I'm looking at bad things that they have done and calling for accountability.
Okay, like I
mean, maybe we disagree, I don't know.
I guess I think we're a wonderful country, and I think if a country is poor, they're poor by choice, and they have to be able to get their act together, make better decisions, and stop acting like victims all the time. Thank you very much.